Along with this whole understanding of the life of Christ, the life in the church, what it means to be a Christian, we need to step back and consider again and again uh, how this differs from what exists out there as a happiness life, which is a happy life. People say how there's self-help gurus and even Christians who say, what do you need to do to be happy? What is it? Let's be happy. Life is a happy to be have a happy life, right? Well, back in the pre-Christ in Greece and Athens, they asked the same question. They came up with explanations as Plato and the Athenian aristocracy. The kalos και agathos, good and honest, or good and beautiful, the true good and the beautiful. This is the ideal man is the one who is good and honest, or good and honorable. And this is the idea of perfection. This was the ideal that they strove for, to work out their as much as possible, to apply themselves to virtue as they understood it. And this was the end of their life. And you can see now, if you put that into perspective of the incarnation, what a terrible fall it is for Orthodox Christians or anyone who wants to follow Christ to say that this is the end of our life. How did we end up there? What dissolution took place in the West for us to go back and say, well, essentially, we identify with the pre-Christian ideals for man, which many people today share, even as Christians. This is a fall for us. Now, they didn't go to that, maybe to that extreme always, of course, but it does oftentimes communicate to the general population that that's what it's about. To be a good Christian is to be a kind and gentle person and all the rest. But the true mission of the church, again, is to make us kings and priests of God in his kingdom. And this is unknown. It's not even imagined, really, by the greatest of the philosophers. They never spoke in those terms, to make us kings and priests in a kingdom. That was never a part of the gospel of Plato or the gospel of the humanists. That's not possible because they do not understand and participate in the incarnation. And only through the incarnation and through the sharing of through by God's grace, through the union in the mysteries and the sharing, the perichoresis with Christ, can we talk about kings and priests in any meaningful way. We as Christians pray, thy kingdom come. We pray it every day. We should pray it several times a day, really, even in the morning with our prayers, at one of the meals of the day, in the evening again, in Compline. So several times a day, we are asking Christ that his kingdom come, his will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And of course, part of that earth is our bodies, our mind, our thoughts, right? When we say thy kingdom come, we don't mean externally. We're not trying to rebuild some kind of earthly kingdom. And Christ certainly didn't come to give us an earthly fallen kingdom. So when we pray thy kingdom come, this is not a political, earthly, moral, philosophical kingdom, right? But it's not of this world. And Christians, to enter that kingdom, what does that mean? It means that Christ reigns within us. He's the king that sits on the throne of our nous, our soul, our heart. He's the one who reigns over everything within us. In other words, the passions are subdued. So through him, Christians become priests who then offer their worship to the Holy Trinity. Again, in this light, we see that the so-called social gospel, the so-called, the various versions of Christian life on earth, Marxism or Western humanism, whatever it is, the social gospel is ultimately an anti-gospel. It's not just an error. It's not just a mistake. It's not just something that, too bad, we got simple people who got it wrong. But it is a grave anti-gospel. It's an undoing, overturning of the gospel. Going back again to previous ideas of perfection as a purely human endeavor to acquire virtues and to have a theoretically, correct understanding of this world through a rational assent. All of that is an undoing. You can apply the same thing to the Barlamites and all the various heretics who came from the West during the times of St. Gregory Palamas in the 14th century. Same sickness, same delusion, essentially, in the end of the day, an undoing of theosis as the aim of our life, putting aside of these spiritual, the communion, ultimately. Salvation itself is put aside. So